follow through with the concept of flexibility and change, which was addressed in the previous video. And I think specifically with, the duress of the pandemic, because I think that is the important concept I want to take from a vendor's perspective, is that how are vendors expected to handle the concept of deposits? And is it a blanket approach for vendors as well? Are they expected to return deposits? Are they expected to under the duress of a pandemic, obviously, make changes very last minute without, being able to recuperate for any of the costs that they incurred in the process? What's your take on it?
So I think firstly, changes or deviations from a contract, your test would need to be that it is a fair and reasonable change, or it's a fair and reasonable period of notice given from the couple to the vendor. Here, I think the vendor needs to take responsibility, and at negotiation period, or at the time of negotiation, have a conversation with your couple, and you start the conversation and tell them, look, this is what I consider a reasonable period for a change or a cancellation. And going back to the example of a wedding cake, if you are a baker and you need 3 months to start designing your sugar flowers in a specific color for a cake, and your bride comes to you 2 weeks in advance and says, look, we've changed the colors of everything, it's now going to be X, Y, and Z, and now you've already done 100 roses. So it's up to you to start that conversation, even if your couple have not mentioned it to you or have not alluded to the chance that there might be a cancellation, or, they're waiting for a VIP guest and he might not confirm and we might move it. Start that conversation and say to them, this is my cancellation policy. This is my deposit policy. This is why I cannot refund you X, Y, and Z. If your couple is not comfortable with that and there's no meeting of minds, negotiate further and understand from your couple what their fears are. It is amazing how much can be achieved with a simple, open conversation. If you as a baker say, I cannot change an order from 2 months before, and this is why, because I start making my roses before, and nobody's going to want those colors because it's so unique to you. It is amazing how much a couple and a vendor will achieve by open conversations. And then you tell the bride and groom, you tell the couple, look, I need you to confirm X, Y, and Z by this date. If you don't, I'm unable to meet this deadline for you. I think that's very important. In terms of deposits, to answer your question, there is no blanket approach to this. It would depend on the monetary value of the item. So often couples may prefer, if the vendor's bill is quite short, if the invoice is quite a small amount of money, it might be easier for them to pay the full amount over to you. It is important for you as a vendor to keep a record of what's expected of you, and to know that there are recourse methods that can be taken against you if you, heaven forbid, but abscond with the money and don't meet any responsibilities without conveying to the couple why you have been unable to meet that. I think on the other side of it, if you are taking a 50% deposit, 60%, always discuss with your couple by when would that or wouldn't that deposit be refundable? Would they be able to get that whole deposit refunded to them? Or is there a portion that you will withhold, for example, for your ingredients if it's a high value catering contract itself? I also think in terms of deposits, it's important to discuss the concept of a refundable deposit. A refundable deposit it often occurs in terms of wedding venues. For example, as a vendor, you would say, I need to keep an X amount of money for any damages that might happen. After the wedding, you then go and you check the venue to make sure that nothing's been damaged, and then you decide to give the money back to the couple itself. Sometimes what happens is that the couple then dispute this and said, well, my uncle, auntie also inspected the venue and they found that there's nothing damaged, and I think that you're now just keeping this deposit just to upkeep your own venue. That often could lead to a dispute. So it might be a good idea if the vendor says, for example, I will check the venue when I'm coming to lock up. Please give me one individual. Perhaps this could even be done on a video call where we then walk around the venue. I will check my locks, I will check my windows, my tiles, and my electricals. If that's fine, I will then agree with this appointed person, and then I will make sure that you get your deposit back. It may not always be easy for a family member or an appointed person to wait at the venue for the vendor to come and lock up. So I've seen in recent times it's done via video call. It's a verbal agreement, and that's where the couple says, okay, fine, we're happy with that. If my so-and-so who is appointed and you video call them, if we're all satisfied, then yes, you can give us our deposit back. However, if you show on the video call as a vendor to the X, Y, and Z person, look, this lock has been damaged, this glass has been broken in my window, I'm retaining a percentage of the deposit because I need to replace that. I think it's important for vendors to safeguard themselves like that.
I have to, and again, agree, because I find that in this generation, and I'm not talking about a generation, an age generation, but our current generation, there's a need to do everything very quickly. And our conversations that are being engaged in are not necessarily always face-to-face, neither are they in the same room. And so often in the means of trying to get things done, we're having very quick conversations over mediums like WhatsApp, for example. And if I could leave a message myself, it would be that try and be as clear as possible with whoever you're communicating with, because I feel that, sometimes a mistake that all of us make is that we think that the other person understands what we're talking about. But, unfortunately, we're faced with just so much on our shoulders equally. And so I think just to ensure that everybody understands that we're on the same page, we all walk into different situations with the same understanding, the same level of understanding. And I also think sometimes the brevity to say, I don't think we're on the same page. Can you maybe explain that further? Can we maybe talk a little bit more about this? Means that we're able to have a very successful event and avoid things like disputes.
Absolutely. I think also, and I just want to mention this, sometimes vendors also feel under pressure to secure the deal or to get the couple to sign the contract. And then they say, it's just a standard contract. You can sign it and you can read it later. Take 10 minutes with your couple and explain the clauses to them, whether it's via voice note, video call, Zoom, or even via an email or via a video that you do with a printout of your contract. There are many ways you can do this. Take 5 to 10 minutes and go through the contract with your couple. So at no stage can the couple say, I felt like I was under pressure to sign it because the vendor told me if I don't, I'm going to miss the date. And I actually signed something I didn't understand. Do I really even have capacity when I've signed that contract? You want to avoid small nitty-gritty situations like that. So take the time with your couple and go through the contract and explain it to them. So at no point can they say, I signed it, but I didn't understand what your cancellation clause meant to me. And I think that that's very important to protect the vendor.
Thank you. Kashmir, thank you so much for your time. And I think for the clarity that you provide for couples and for vendors in terms of the conversations that they need to be having with each other. And what I'd like to encourage with the audience is that please stay in touch. This conversation will happen regularly. The next topic that Kashmir will be attacking is the contracts that exist between couples in terms of marital regimes, what the differences are, and how you should approach before you actually sign the big paper. So Kashmir, thank you so much. We look forward to having you again.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.